What's fascinating about Northwestern University is the range and variety of talent and ideas that are in collaboration all the time. Where can you be in a place where you can get such refreshing energy and ideas on a continuous basis? It can only make us better.
I think almost every single year of college, I tried to start a company, and eventually, my junior year, Amper ended up doing better than the others, and that's what I'm continuing to do right now. Amper Technologies, we're a startup that's building systems to better track and manage manufacturing operations. So when I started out working in this company, it was a simple side project. I never thought about incorporating it or anything of that nature. And I just really wanted to build this thing and solve a particular problem around energy. Things like VentureCat, things like the garage, really help de-risk it by both giving you motivation by being surrounded by people that are also working on it. Financially, you have the resources to build out things that you want to, and at a greater level, if you can get to a certain point, completely de-risk you working on it full-time. Success is like such an abstract term, and the way I look at it is in terms of milestones for a company. So there's some sort of core validation things like, does your product really work? Do people really want it? Can you sell it? How do you distribute it cost effectively? How do you grow your team? Attract the best talent. So I think there's so many milestones that goes into reaching that vision, and that vision is probably like achievable like at least 7 years out. So it's definitely a long game. I've done a lot of pitches right from sales to raising capital. It really depends on the nature of who the audience is. So I think really prepping yourself and knowing what points you want to communicate, because there's a million things you could talk about your company. For example, if someone really cares about the technical details, then maybe that's what you should talk about. But on the other hand, if someone cares about the go-to-market or the distribution end of things, that's really what you should focus on. I think there's a lot of luck that goes into succeeding, at least in terms of milestones. And I think to get that luck in, you got to show up, and it's a percentage yield. It's like maybe you'll get lucky 1% of the time, but you got to try it like 100 times. So I think really putting yourself out there and not stopping at just an idea level.
To see these students come up with new ideas, or I would even say new approaches to problems, is always fascinating to me.
So our goal is really to kind of modernize and improve the customer service experience for sourcing plants. So we are a houseplant selection and delivery service. So you use our website and you answer a few questions about the light in your home or your office, and also your willingness to take care of a plant. And then from there, we'll actually replant it for you in a really beautiful container, and then provide delivery and easy care instructions, and you'll also get a lifetime of plant support. So I used at least my time at Northwestern to test the idea. We did multiple pilots, so I could actually start selling product for this business. I could source plants and sell them to people and get feedback and use that to iterate. Because I think in subtle ways, the company really has evolved from the initial idea to now, just based on what customers were telling us. It gave me the chance to find suppliers who I could source from and kind of get everything set up so that when I graduated, I would be ready to go full time on the business. I specifically was an MBA student at Kellogg School of Management, and I had a great chance to take a lot of entrepreneurship classes and to get involved with different programs there that supported student entrepreneurship. So that includes the garage, where I was an entrepreneur in residence. For a student entrepreneur, so many people get caught up on the perfect idea, and I probably also fell victim to that before I moved forward with Well Tended. But what I can definitely say is true is that no matter how good you think your idea is, something's gonna change about how you execute it. And so you might as well get started and just emotionally prepare yourself that it might change along the way, rather than just kind of saying you don't want to get started until the idea is perfect, because it's never going to be. being forced to really think through what's your vision for the company and to think through what are the key elements of this business was really helpful to me, because it's one thing to have the idea in your head of here's what I think is a good idea, but you kind of discover that conveying it to someone else is a whole different animal. So putting together a pitch deck and getting to translate both the business fundamentals, but also the kind of vision and brand and design kind of look and feel of what my company would be was hugely helpful to me. I really do think back so fondly of my time at Kellogg, and I think for me, and at least my personality, it was just so instrumental to getting me to this point. And I still have a lot more work to do with my company, but the programs at Kellogg and Through the Garage just made a big difference. So I'm really thankful for the time that I had there.
Well, we want students looking at the same problem from different perspectives, so that it's not just business students or just engineering students looking at a problem, but looking at it from a variety of angles, because every business is more than technology. Every business is more than just a good business model or a good business idea. It requires a variety of skills to bring a good product and a good business to the marketplace.
I graduated from Northwestern last year in the summer and studied computer science there at McCormick. And throughout that time, I was working on a lot of different things. I decided I wanted to get into industrial robotics, and I just looked at different applications of flying robots in the industrial robotics space, and that's where IFM really was conceived. In general, the problem that we're tackling is a very big problem, and there's a lot of moving and flying variables in that problem. And I was lucky that I was in an environment where I was able to leverage some of the classes I was taking and the research I was doing as ways for me to learn about different approaches to all kinds of technical problems and then apply those principles to the work I was doing on my own at IFM. I think it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a founder, you're a founder. If you're a student or not a student, that doesn't really matter. In the end, it matters what you build with a company and how you build it. Obviously, the challenge if you're taking classes and you have some other responsibilities is finding the right balance between focusing on performing well in classes and prioritizing getting and completing your degree, and at the same time maximizing the output and the efficiency at which you can build the technology for the company, the business of the company, and how you appear as a company to your customers, and that you make sure they take you seriously. I think to be successful at competitions like VentureCat, the most important part is not necessarily the pitch. I think about the pitch as sort of the cover on a book, but what really matters for the book to be good is the content and what's behind it. And you don't build a company to pitch it. Pitching is just a means to transport the idea about what you're doing. And if you have a solid business idea, customers that are willing to pay for it, and a competitive advantage in doing so, then whatever way you find to express yourself and what you're doing to other people should be convincing for you to be able to win a competition. The number one thing I would tell you is to question yourself and take enough time for yourself to take a step back and look at the holistic picture and everything that you're doing and understand why you're doing it. Because it's easy to get really stuck and dug deep into specific problems and into small problems. And it's great to solve small problems. If you solve a lot of small problems, that's good. But you want to make sure you keep track of the bigger picture. And so take a step back and think about it. And is this really useful? Is this really helpful? Does this really work? And question yourself.
I hope when people think Northwestern, right, they also realize great education, of course, great athletics, and a great legacy. But we also have now recently created an excellent legacy in entrepreneurship, and we are punching above our weight. That's what I would say, right? So for the size school we are, for the number of students, the number of faculty, and the size of the facilities, we are outperforming schools of larger size and larger stature. And the reason for that is, I think, the dedication of the faculty, centers like Farley and Key over at Kellogg, the garage itself, which has given a physical manifestation to that kind of that entrepreneurial spirit that I think the university has and has had for a while. Even before all these formal structures, there was an entrepreneurial spirit here that pre-existed all of that, and our faculty share in quite a bit of that too.